Canada in the 1970s. It wasn't smaller in size, but it sure felt closer. You knew your neighbors by name. You waved at strangers on the street. And when the first snow came, everyone grabbed a shovel. Nobody waited to be asked. You just helped. That's how things were. It wasn't about being polite. It was about being Canadian. Gas hovered around 40 cents a liter, back before metric fully took over. You'd pull into a Petro-Canada or Esso, and the attendant, wearing a red toque and a smile that could melt ice, would wash your windshield, check your oil, and maybe even hand you a free map. No card tap, no self-serve, just a little moment of small-town kindness. The corner store, that was paradise. You'd push open the door, the little bell jingling overhead, and walk in with a single quarter dash, the most powerful coin in the world. You'd leave with Popeye's cigarettes, Fun Dips, and those tiny wax bottles full of syrup. The air smelled like sugar, dust, and comic books. It wasn't just candy. It was freedom in a paper bag. And those comics. Oh, those comics. Archie, Spider-Man, Tintin, stacked in spinning racks at every Mac's Milk. You'd flip through them slowly, pretending to decide, until the owner gave you that look. So you smiled, nodded, and said, "Yep, I was just about to buy this one." Maybe you did. Maybe you didn't. Either way, those pages took you somewhere far away. And when Saturday night rolled around, the whole country tuned in together. The CBC theme played, and for a few hours, nothing else mattered. Dad leaned forward in his chair. Mom brought snacks, and Foster Hewitt's voice filled the room. You could almost feel the cold air of the rink through the TV screen. It wasn't just a game. It was Saturday night in Canada. Every kid had a pair of CCM skates. Didn't matter if you were any good. If you didn't play on a team, you played on the pond. You'd lace up in the cold, your breath hanging in the air like fog, and the sound of blades scraping across the ice echoed through the night. The streetlights glowed orange against the snowbanks, and you could hear laughter drifting from every rink in the neighborhood. That was winter in Canada, simple, cold, and perfect. And Tim Hortons. Oh, Tim's was different back then. No fancy lattes, no drive-through lineup stretching around the block. Just strong coffee, a box of donuts, and the smell of apple fritters floating through the air. Truck drivers, hockey dads, and night shift workers sat shoulder to shoulder, swapping stories before sunrise. It wasn't just a coffee shop, it was community. It was Canada. Every house had that wood paneling, dark and glossy, almost too warm in summer, but cozy in winter. A rotary phone on the wall, the cord all tangled up from too many calls. A macrame plant hanger by the window, maybe a lava lamp in the corner. And of course, that fondue set someone got for Christmas and only used once. It wasn't fancy, but it felt like home. And that's something you can't really buy anymore, eh? The Eatons and Simpsons catalogues. Now those were something special. You'd wait for that thick book to show up in the mail. Flip through every glossy page, circling what you wanted for Christmas. Bikes, winter coats, toys, even furniture. The wish book wasn't just shopping, it was dreaming. That's when the holidays really started. You could almost smell the pine tree and hot chocolate just flipping through it. And the music. Oh, the music. Vinyl records spinning in basements and bedrooms across the country. Gordon Lightfoot, telling stories that felt like they were written just for us. Anne Murray's voice floating through the house on a quiet Sunday morning. Burton Cummings and the Guess Who blaring from a record player that skipped every now and then. Those weren't just songs. That was Canada, finding its voice, one record at a time. Milk came in bags, 3 clear pouches tucked into a soft blue pitcher on the counter. You'd grab the scissors, snip the corner, and 9 times out of 10, you'd pour too fast and spill half the glass before you got the hang of it. It was messy, sure, but somehow it just felt normal, that gentle glug-glug as it poured. It's a sound that sticks with you, even now. Every car had an ice scraper on the dashboard, not one of those fancy extendable ones, just a cracked old plastic thing that froze solid by February. You'd start the car 10 minutes early, fingers crossed, hoping the engine would cough to life. The windshield would fog, the heater would groan, and you'd just sit there, scraping away like it was a daily ritual. Winter didn't care who you were. Everyone scraped their way through it. Snowbanks? Oh, they were mountains back then. You'd dig tunnels, build forts, and come home soaked straight through your jeans. Mom would toss your mitts on the radiator, and they'd steam while you wrapped your hands around a mug of hot chocolate. You could hear that slow sizzle as the wool dried, and the whole room smelled like wet mitts and cocoa. It wasn't fancy, but man, it was pure comfort. Canadian Tire money. Now that was real treasure. A few crumpled bills in the glove box, maybe a 10-cent or 25-cent note. You'd clutch it tight, thinking you were rich. You didn't even care what it could buy. It just looked like money, and that was enough. Sometimes Dad would hand you a bill and wink like he'd just made your day, and honestly, he had. And Zellers! Oh, the excitement of back-to-school shopping, the smell of new sneakers and fresh notebooks, racks of polyester pants in colors nobody should have worn, and cafeteria fries drowned in gravy that somehow tasted perfect. You'd walk out with your paper bags, feeling ready for anything, like a new year was waiting just for you. Morning started with the friendly giant and Mr. Dress-Up, the jingling of the window, that soft little tune. It felt like comfort itself. Mr. Dress-Up's tickle trunk, Casey and Finnegan. They weren't just puppets. They were old friends who taught you kindness, creativity, and how to slow down and imagine. There was something gentle about those shows, something the world could use a little more of today. Every living room had one of those giant console TVs, half furniture, half machine. The wood paneling matched the coffee table, and if the picture started rolling, you gave it a good smack on the side. Changing the channel meant twisting the dial, clunk, 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 and sometimes you were the remote. Hey, turn it to channel 6, and up you'd go. It was all part of the ritual. Banana seat bikes. Oh, now those were freedom. Hockey cards clipped to the spokes so it sounded like a motor. You'd fly down the street, hands off the handlebars, wind in your face, feeling like Evel Knievel himself. Of course the crash came sooner or later, but you'd brush off the gravel, laugh, and ride off again. That's what being a kid was all about. Curling bonspiels were the heartbeat of winter weekends. Community halls packed full, the smell of coffee, beer, and wet mittens. You'd hear the stones sliding down the ice, the scrape of the broom, and someone always yelling, Hurry hard! Louder than they needed to. People laughed, cheered, and clapped their friends on the back. It wasn't just a game, it was connection. And then came the metric switch. Oh, that threw everyone off. Suddenly, the weather was in Celsius, the groceries in kilograms, and speed signs in kilometers. People squinted at their speedometers, muttering, "What's 90 kilometers an hour in miles again?" It took a while, but like most things, folks adjusted. Even if nobody ever really stopped doing the math in their heads. Every winter had its heroes, the kids who showed up to school in snow pants caked with ice and scarves wrapped 3 times around their faces. You'd stomp your boots in the hallway, hang up your jacket on a crowded hook, and hope your mitts dried by recess. The whole place smelled like wet wool and hot chocolate. Somehow, it was the smell of childhood. School lunches were simple. Bologna sandwiches in wax paper, an apple, maybe a wagon wheel if you were lucky. No one had allergy lists or lunch monitors. Just a table full of kids trading cookies for chips. Half the time, you ended up eating outside on the steps, your fingers freezing but your heart full. Community rinks were where legends were born. You'd lace up on wooden benches, the air so cold your breath hung like ghosts. Parents huddled under blankets, sipping from thermoses, and cheering every kid like they were in the Stanley Cup Finals. No scoreboard, no scouts, just love for the game. Family road trips were an adventure and a test of patience. Dad at the wheel, Mom with the map, and kids piled in the back of a station wagon with no seat belts. You'd play I Spy, sing along to the radio, and count every roadside moose sign. Somehow, everyone survived on sandwiches, gas station chips, and pure excitement. Saturday mornings were sacred. You'd pour a big bowl of frosted flakes, plop down in front of the TV, and lose yourself in cartoons. Scooby-Doo, the Flintstones, Rocket Robin Hood. It didn't matter what was on. It was your time. No chores, no homework, just pure sugary joy. And when Mom called from the kitchen, "Turn that down!" Pretended not to hear. Weekends at the cottage. Now that was living. You'd pack up the car Friday night, squeeze in the kids, the cooler, the dog, and hit the Trans-Canada before sunrise. No GPS, no playlists, just Dad tapping the steering wheel and Mom passing sandwiches wrapped in wax paper. The radio crackled with CFTR or CHUMFM, and when you finally saw that little wooden sign that said Lake Access, it felt like you'd driven straight into paradise. The air was pine and campfire smoke, the loons were calling, and somehow time just slowed down. Drive-in theaters were magic under the stars. Families pulled up in station wagons, kids in pajamas piled into the back, windows rolled down, and that crackly speaker hanging off the window. You could smell popcorn, bug spray, and the cool night air all at once. Maybe you didn't always watch the whole movie. Sometimes you just looked up at the stars or dozed off before the ending. But that glow of the screen on everyone's faces, that's something you don't forget. School field trips were simple, but they felt like grand adventures. The museum, the sugar shack, maybe the local zoo. You brought your lunch in a brown paper bag. Bologna sandwich, apple, and a can of orange crush that leaked a little before lunch. The bus smelled like peanut butter and diesel fumes, and everyone sang "The Wheels on the Bus" until the teacher begged for mercy. By the time you got home, your shoes were muddy and your heart was full. There was something special about snow days. You'd wake up early, listen to the radio, and cross your fingers as the announcer read the list of closed schools. And when you finally heard your town's name, oh, the celebration! You'd pull on your snow pants, grab the toboggan, and hit the nearest hill. Cold noses, red cheeks, frozen eyelashes, and not a care in the world. The day wasn't about staying home. It was about being free. And of course, the kitchen was the heart of every home. Avocado green appliances, floral curtains, and the hum of the fridge. Someone was always cooking. Maybe stew, maybe Kraft dinner. And the smell filled the whole house. You'd sit at the table, legs swinging, waiting for dessert. Usually a bowl of Jell-O or a slice of homemade pie. And when the radio played Anne Murray or the Guess Who in the background, it didn't matter what was for dinner. Life just felt good. Ah, Saturday mornings. The smell of pancakes drifting through the house, the sound of cartoons humming from the big console TV. You'd pour a mountain of syrup, grab a blanket, and settle right on the shag carpet. No worries, no rush. Scooby-Doo, Rocket Robin Hood, the Friendly Giant. They weren't just shows, they were rituals. Mom would yell from the kitchen, "Don't sit too close to the TV," but you never moved an inch. Every neighborhood had that one corner store, a little place where time stood still. The screen door creaked, the bell jingled, and the floor smelled faintly of bubble gum and motor oil. You'd press your nose against the glass candy case, deciding between a Joe Louis, a bag of ketchup chips, or those sour strips that made your face scrunch up. The owner knew everyone by name. He'd smile and say, "Don't forget your change, kiddo. Simpler times. Sweeter, too." Ah, school days, when handwriting mattered and chalk dust filled the air. You'd sharpen your pencil till it could poke a hole through paper and try not to giggle when the film projector jammed again. Desks squeaked, radiators clanked, and that old clock on the wall ticked louder every minute before the bell. The smell of wet mittens lined up on the heater. That was the scent of winter learning. No tablets, no Wi-Fi, just you, a notebook, and your imagination. Every block had a hockey game breaking out as soon as school let out. Sticks, gloves, and an old tennis ball. No fancy gear, no refs. Someone would shout, "Car!" and the whole street would scatter like startled pigeons. Then, as soon as the coast was clear, game on again. Nobody kept score, not really. It was about pride, bragging rights, and who got to say they scored the winning goal before supper. Winter carnivals were the highlight of the season. Bonfires, sleigh rides, ice sculptures, and steaming cups of cocoa that burned your tongue just a little. The whole town came out, bundled up in parkas and toques, faces red from the cold, but smiles wide as the prairies. Kids built snowmen, parents talked about the weather, and someone always brought a fiddle. When the fireworks lit up the night sky, you felt small, but part of something big, something homegrown. There was something special about the way evenings felt back then. After supper, you'd bundle up, head outside, and the neighborhood came alive under those amber streetlights. Kids played tag in the snow, dads shoveled the last bit of the driveway, and somewhere you could smell wood smoke drifting from a chimney. No one stared at screens. You just lived. And when Mom called your name from the porch, you knew the day was done. Summer meant cottage trips. You'd cram into the family car, the trunk packed with coolers, fishing rods, and mismatched lawn chairs. Windows down, radio humming Gordon Lightfoot, and that long stretch of highway shimmering in the heat. When you finally reached the lake, The air smelled of pine and freedom. You'd run straight into the water, screaming from the cold, and laugh till your stomach hurt. That's what summer felt like. Pure, unfiltered joy. Every kitchen had that one drawer, you know the one, packed with batteries, tape, twist ties, and a mysterious collection of keys nobody could identify. Moms seemed to know exactly what was in there, though. You'd ask for a screwdriver, and she'd say, "Check the junk drawer." It was less of a drawer, more like organized chaos that worked. Halloween nights were colder, darker, and somehow better. You'd bundle up under your costume, a toque stuffed under your mask, mitts clutching a pillowcase full of candy. Every porch light meant another handful of sugar and another laugh with your friends. By the end of the night, your cheeks were frozen, your costume was ripped, and your heart was full. You'd dump that candy on the carpet like a pirate counting treasure. Best night of the year, hands down. And oh, those Canadian winters. Brutal, beautiful, and unforgettable. The kind of cold that made your eyelashes freeze and your breath hang in the air like fog. You'd see your reflection in the frost on the window, tracing little shapes, while the world outside slept under a blanket of white. Somehow, it wasn't just cold, it was comforting. Because even in the silence, there was warmth. In the houses, in the people, in the way everyone looked out for each other. That's what made it home. Every household had that one radio sitting on the kitchen counter, big knobs, an antenna that never quite stood straight, and a dial that hummed when you tuned it just right. You'd hear the weather, the farm report, maybe a bit of Stompin' Tom or Anne Murray. It wasn't just background noise, it was the heartbeat of the home. Morning coffee, dinner prep, late night talks. That radio was always there, softly humming through it all. And then there were the summer fairs, the Ferris wheel creaking under the setting sun, the smell of popcorn and cotton candy thick in the air, kids clutching prize tickets, teenagers showing off at the ring toss, and country music echoing from the main stage. You'd leave with sticky hands, tired legs, and a smile that lasted all the way home. It wasn't about the rides or the prizes. It was about that feeling, that life was simple, safe, and filled with laughter.